Peace and Black Power. Before I get into this video, I want to give a powerful shout out to my brother Pup, who thought enough of me to make this very nice Baba TV intro. Thank you, brother. Peace.
Baba, 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 TV, 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 TV. Every time fire. Every time, every time, every time, every time, every time, every time fire. Every time, every time, every time, every time, every time.
Peace and Black Power. Welcome to another edition of Baba TV House of Consciousness. I'm here with the mighty Sankofa. Yeah, this grown man shit, grown folks business here. Redpill getting ready to come in here and bless Baba TV in a minute. Talk to me a little bit about, you seen the Jewish fella, right? The so-called Jew?
The brother polite.
Yeah, yes sir. Smiling and beguiling our people, brother. Talk to me a little bit about, because we know first of all over in Israel that we, as Dr. Khaled teaches, wherever the black and white dichotomy exists, we find the white so-called Jew on top, and we find the original people that are the real Hebrews on the bottom. Not only do they live next to some toxic site, but they treat the people like dirt. And it seemed like he was just, didn't even want to address the issue like a devil does. You can't expect, the devil is the devil. He didn't want to address any of those topics, and he just smiling and beguiling our people.
Smiling and beguiling, shaking and faking. Like Khalid once said. Well, you know what? It's a strategy. He's going into a debate. So I'm sure he knows already the community he's up against, the perspectives that we have, and even outside of just us, at large, the black community, the struggles that we're dealing with and what we're going through. So for him to come and to represent his dogma or doctrine or religion in a way where it's favorable, and it appears to be favorable rather, and people are in agreement with it, he has to come shaking and faking, snaking, and smiling and beguiling. You know, because like the brother asked very legitimate questions about, are there cursed people? I know from being a Hebrew Israelite, studying the scriptures, and we don't look at, at that time, and I still don't now, them as original Hebrews or Jews. They're not. When you really go into the history, a lot of their converts, they're of different European pedigree and lineage and things like that. And these are doctrines or ideas or ideologies and concepts that they've adopted and made theirs. When I say made theirs, because it wasn't like it was unity amongst us and everybody else when they were taught these things. These people at the top echelons and our people that look like them, that claim the same dogma, ideology, okay, or Judaism, are at the bottom anywhere you go. He never really wanted to address that. And not just him. There's a lot of, in certain groups of black Hebrews or Jews or whatever they want to call themselves, that I look at as spiritually buck dancing and spiritually spit shoe Jew shining the cracker's shoe, because they're not really addressing principle critical things. Now I'm not going to go back into my Israelite things as far as what I believed as us being collective Israelite, but when you read the scripture, Deuteronomy 28:68, actually Deuteronomy 28th chapter from verses 15 all the way up to the 68th verse, where it talks about the curses. If that was to be something to identify what the Jews or what the Hebrews were by proxy of what they would be going through, as far as the curses for breaking the commandments and the laws is what they believe of God, then that would diametrically be in opposition to the pale Jew being a Hebrew or a Jew. Even though he tries to talk slick and talk like, well, there are other people who come, my brothers, but at the same time, you're saying that Ethiopians, East Indians, Chinese people come and worship in Israel, but they're looking at it from a perspective of you being on top, or your people, and them being on the bottom, and you perceive them as converts. Even though he didn't say that, I would say it for him, because that's what he conveniently left out. And I'm militant, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna speak my mind. I'm gonna say what I feel, and I will put it in perspective, and I can go back into the historical chain of events that took place to validate my perspective and why I'm saying what I'm saying. So when you ask the question, was he being real? Of course not. At the end of the day, in the beginning of the next, he also wasn't revealing his hand. He's not going to tell you everything that he's going to bring to the table, but he sound weak. And if you really know history and you're really doing research, and we have the tangible evidence right in our motherland, right in Africa, in that whole Nile Valley, not just Egypt, and in other places that still predate that religion, that would be nothing, you know what I'm saying? You would have to dig deep and go into who are these people calling themselves the Jews now. If the original Jews didn't look like them, and he said that, well, the original Jews had to be dark. Well, we know that there's different shades of melanated people, ranging from dark to reddish dark to dark brown to you name it, dark yellow, you name it, all the way down to damn near mulatto looking, light-skinned people looking. But him, his phenotype, because you have lighter people who still have phenotype that is conducive with what the original people look like. He doesn't look like that. His culture and who he is and where they come from, you can do the research and see where in history they were converts to that idea. Not saying that idea is the absolute truth, and that is the origin of spirituality, concepts, and idea, and our connection with the higher supreme beings and intelligence of the universe. I'm not saying that. But for what they're connecting to and where they get it from, the perspective that he's coming from and the way he's conveying it, rather, is like a farce. Like, he's not trying to let you know. Well, you know, even though he said, you remember this, Baba? He said, well, you know, no doubt, when I go through, you know, on airplanes, or I go through here or that, and there's checkpoints, you know, they give me high fives and thumbs up. You know what I mean? So it does work for me. But it doesn't work for us. And according to the scriptures, when it says that you shall serve your enemy for the want of all things, and they control the music industry, a lot of them behind the scenes, okay, certain ones at top echelons, the Diamond, the Oppenheimers, the De Beers, okay? When you look at what they're doing behind the scenes, controlling a lot of things, secret societies and organizations that control and even infiltrated our movements, especially in the 60s and all that, when you look at what they're doing, how they are in power, for the most part, even if they say, he said, I have to work to pay bills too. All men and all people have to work to do that. There's no getting around that. That is something that you have to work. The scriptures say if you don't work, you don't eat. It says in the New Testament, not the Old, but nonetheless, it's a universal principle that is just a fact. So by him saying that doesn't make you connect to the struggle or answer the question honestly and according to scripture, like the brother Polite asked. He kind of danced around that, okay? He didn't buck dance, he did the Hava la Killer around the question. You know what I'm saying? But not answering that. There's a lot going on out here on 125th Street. We got the Moors building with Brother Reggie. We got me right here. Check it out. Zoom in. And that's one thing. Dogma, doctrine, belief systems could make people very emotional. And in fact, if you're not extracting the essence of what these concepts and ideas are supposed to do, you would get caught up in the mundane, surface perspective and kind of not imbue yourself, okay, with the spiritual gifts that you're supposed to extract from these concepts and ideas and these religions and these dogmas so you'll be arguing about identity or about symbols or about dress codes and all kind of different things. So what you see is a people who are product of being lied to, like I always say, who are robbed of an identity, and we were never all one thing coming here at different points of time in history. Okay, dropped off at different parts of the Americas, picked up at different parts of West Africa, coming from different concepts of language, customs, traditions, spiritual systems, and brought here and put under one concept and conditioned as one people under one idea of Christianity. You can't never say, once we dig up the facts of history, that we were all one thing. But because we're a people that have been lied to, and we know we're great, and we know our history is vast, and we know that it goes way beyond that which we have been taught, and a lot of these ideas, dogmas, and concepts, whether it be in religion or the corporate education complex, that's why we're battling for our identity to know who we are. I think sometimes we go about it the wrong way, but nonetheless, that's what this is. And this is a direct result of global white supremacy. The disagreements that we have, let's say you can't blame the white man for everything. Well, I'm to blame. The reason why you're lost is because something took place historically that has robbed you of a knowledge of self and who you are. And that's us collectively. We're never all one thing. But as a people, we're trying to redefine ourselves and take the tapestry of our great history and weave it into something that we can collectively say, this is all of us now. My thing as a nationalist is to each his own. If that works for you and you want to claim a certain idea, concept, belief system, that's your thing. You have the right to do that. However, I know from my research in history, from my study, from my critique, from common sense and even uncommon sense, that we're not all one thing. There is no one thing or one nationality, one flag, one symbol, one perspective that we're all going to unify under. We are a people that are multiplicated and always have been. The only way we're going to have unity that's effective is if we accept that and agree that there's differences, but we have a common thread. Knowing that we have a common enemy is what I usually promote, but that's not always going to be the thing that is the ties that bind us or that unify us. We have a common enemy. We have common struggles. We have common things, commonalities that we're going through here. But if we're going to we have to unify under this banner or this name or this ideology, we're going to be not free for more longer than we already have been not free now. You know what I'm saying? But I love the brothers because in a spirit of mental liberation and being passionate about trying to raise the consciousness of the people, we all come here and we bring our perspective and our ideas, okay? Nobody has the absolute truth, regardless of how much knowledge we think we have. And a lot of brothers get emotional over things when you don't agree with it, but you know what? That's what happens to a people that have been robbed of a knowledge of self, brainwashed, miseducated, okay, and is looking for direction now. This is the process that we're going through. And this platform is powerful because it allows us to showcase what it is that we're bringing to the table. And it's up to you, the viewership, to internalize that or go do your research and see what works for you. My thing is black nationalism because regardless of our differences, we have a common enemy. And if we don't fight against that common enemy, we have a common outcome that is going to be detrimental to us on a collective level. So because of that and those factors, I stand firm on nationalism. I say black power. Some of us, we don't like to deal with the term black. Well, whether you call yourself black or not, we are dealing with certain struggles, issues, and conditions in our community, and we better damn sure come up with some plans of actions to raise the bar, to offset, to undermine, and to overcome those agendas that are definitely geared towards us. And if you don't see that as a reality, okay, either you're ignorant, or you're an agent, or you just haven't got to that level of consciousness, which ties into ignorance again. You know what I'm saying? But as far as with the Jew, and back to that, what he's bringing to the table is weak. I know that the brother Polite is going to lay him down. He's not even like he's battling a black Hebrew Israel. He's battling a white Jew who's coming into our community, okay, to bring us whatever he's going to bring us. He said he has a plan of action that will work. If that's the case, why haven't we heard about that plan of action before? Why did we hear about that only at the preliminary debate? What have you implemented that we could use as a frame of reference to see that that has been working for our best interest, okay? And you can use that, and maybe he's going to bring that to the table. I doubt it, because the devil, the cracker, is a damn liar. I doubt it. He's shaking and faking, smiling and beguiling. Like Dr. Khalid Muhammad said, that's what I see. And so when he says he has the ultimate plan, what do you have that we don't? You didn't even say your ultimate plan was keeping Torah. Like some black Jews say, the reason why they're in power or why they have their communities intact is because if they follow Torah. So that means you forgot about the whole American social order, the whole agenda, the whole... we go back to the Dred Scott case, which is a very important historic and landmark case, which says the white man has no right to acknowledge the status, sovereignty, or freedom of a black person. These are things that are part of the American social order, things that are in the Constitution, things that are in their construct of government, where we was definitely written out of any kind of equality. So when we say it's just about Torah, you're forgetting about, if you're a black Hebrew saying that, and the reason why, because it was a question asked to a specific black Hebrew, Brother Zion Leck, I'm going to be specific. What is the difference between the white Jews or Hebrews and the blacks? How come they're in power, or they have their communities intact, or they have businesses and we don't? He mentioned Torah, as if oppression, genocide, white genetic survival, things that scholars, researchers, history, even themselves in their ways, deeds, and action has proven to be, is true. A dominant gene, if we was to mix with them, we could genetically annihilate them. None of that came up. It's because we don't keep Torah. So therefore, we're cursed. Okay, so what about the ones that are keeping Torah? Where's the black Hebrew community? Because all whites, all people that claim to be Jews, don't just live by the Torah and live one kind of certain kind of way. But you see a lot of them have power in different levels in society. A lot of them have positions of power in society, whether they're Hasidic or whether they're, what is it called, Reform Jews or whatever. They don't wear the yarmulke and all that. They're just like regular people. They have positions of power. What is the common denominator as far as us? What is going on with us and our status? Where the white Jew is in power, and this is specifically not to the other brothers who are Hebrew Israelites that know or teach that, according to Deuteronomy 28, curses us what we're under, and because of that, that's why we're suffering the way that we do. No, we're talking about the white Jew and his response to Brother Polite. When he said that, it seemed very insincere, it seemed fake, but what else do you expect from a cracker? I'm militant. I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, you know, he's a brother and he's a Jew, and, you know, no, that's what Brother Polite has to do with him, to make him feel comfortable to come to the debate so he can give him that work. Me personally, I don't give a damn about no cracker. I don't give a damn what name, title, language he's claiming, what identity he's claiming, because I know who my enemy is. And I know history has constantly repeated the same old outcome, that these people are disagreeable to live with in peace. So when you say because we're not living by Torah, that's why we're suffering, or we're not as prosperous as Caucasians who claim to be Jews that are, I have to question your level of common sense, your knowledge of history, and even your intentions. Where are you coming from with that, and where the hell are you going? You know what I'm saying? Are we not at war? What about the black people that keep Jews? You mean to tell me if a black man keeps Torah and calls himself a Jew and he's in a community and he walks down the street, a white man that's an officer that hate niggas no matter what he calls himself, what he wears on his head, what emblem he has, will not blow his head off and say, I seen him look like he was reaching for something? Or the same old story that constantly happens? There's a brother that called, it was a Moor down there, what was that, St. Louis, right? Last summer? That was just shot. Sovereignty didn't matter. His identity didn't matter. They don't care. So one thing we have to balance with knowledge of whether it's theological, whether it's dealing with in the capacity of academia, we have to understand that if you're a teacher or you're a religious instructor, a theologian, you got to understand, and you're black, either you're using those concepts and ideas to liberate us, or you're an enemy of the people for not using that knowledge to liberate us and use it to weaponize our condition and predicament to help raise us up. If you're not doing that as an educator, you know what I'm saying, which is definitely mandatory and necessary for you to do as people who are oppressed, who are conditioned. If you're in a position where you're a teacher and you're not using that knowledge to liberate people, either you're an oppressor yourself or you're an enemy or an agent. Same thing goes, whatever information, if you're into, you're a college professor, you're a teacher, you're a theologian, for people, and if you come from them, you're black specifically is what I'm talking about, and your people are being oppressed, and you don't utilize this knowledge as a means to uplift them, to combat what they're going through, then you yourself are a part of the problem, not the solution.
Let's say that I was a college professor,
Yes, sir.
right, who had to follow the directives or the protocol that the board of either, you know, or SUNY or CUNY, the city of New York, and things of that nature. The universities have a protocol that they force professors. My father being an English professor, he has to follow certain protocols when he creates a syllabus, things of that nature. But my father has knowledge of self. My father has knowledge of many other things outside of the protocol that they allow him to teach his students. What would be the alternative, or what would be the route that one would take in order to shine or enlighten their student body with information that may not be a part of the protocol?
I can give you examples, and that's a very good question, okay? You have people that went to school in academia and colleges and got degrees, such as Dr. Leonard Jeffries, am I right?
Yes, sir.
Dr. John Henry Clark, am I right?
Yeah.
Dr. Jacob Carruthers,
Yes.
okay, who said that we are dealing with a paradigm of intellectual warfare, right?
Interestingly enough, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson.
Dr. Francis Cress Wilson.
Great example.
So there are examples of people who went to academia that stepped outside of the corporate educational paradigm or box of what we're being. Obviously, they had to do research outside of that. You know what I mean? And as a people, when you claim to be an intellect, you're in the college, you're intelligent.
Yes.
Meaning you don't have to just read a book to be intelligent. You get trained in the process of analyzing and interpreting and putting things in perspective. So if it behooves you and it flew over your head that you come from a people who are being miseducated and you don't use your premise, your title, or your where you're at in academia or even in theology, because I said that too. If you're not using Black Judaism or Islam to liberate a people who have been conquered and brainwashed, then you are a part of the problem. Because we are dealing with not just intellectual warfare, like Dr. Jacob Carruthers said, we are dealing with spiritual and psychological warfare. So if you're in a position of authority and you are trained and you have been on them platforms, who that? Okay. It is your duty and obligation, if you know better, to show better. And that's who I'm specifically talking about. Because you believe it or not, there are a lot of people that know what's going on, but they won't. Because they're comfortable under white supremacy and they just don't want no problems. How do I know? I talk to a lot of people and I meet a lot of people from different walks of life.
I thought it was just me. I swear to God, I thought it was just me.
No, it's not.
When you start building with these people, they finishing your sentences, they know what's up. That shit fucked me up. I was like, how does so many people are aware of this hidden truth or this buried knowledge, but these people are in professions where they can actually be saving lives?
Right. Right. And if knowledge is power, okay, and these people obviously know that, they're in, you know, a position where they're teaching, where they've obtained a lot of knowledge, and they've went through the so-called Ivy halls of academia. Some of them even Ivy League. I've met a lot of people who are very sharp. You'll be surprised. Like, damn, brother, you know this? How come you're not doing that? Because there has been set up, and by design, a lot of our people don't want to deal with that. A lot of our people don't believe that there's any hope for the liberation and the future of our people. They don't. So what they want to do is integrate, amalgamate into the, you know what I'm saying, the dominant, so-called dominant aspect of society, because they don't really have any faith in us, as far as us transcending, as far as us becoming empowered. That's why when I say revolution, or when I say nationalism, I'm not talking about no mundane 1960s chant and just slogan with no meaning behind it. When I say nationalism, going through the word NATO, meaning origin, our people, what we have in common. We're fighting for self-preservation, regardless of what you believe in. Black man, whether you Muslim, Moor, Christian, a regular nigga in the street, blood, Crip, you know what I'm saying, street gang member, your life is in jeopardy because they're trying to eliminate us. So if you're in a position, and I don't look at all people who are in positions in academia to teach us. I'm not no fool like that. I'm not saying that. But those who know better, a lot of them choose not to show better. We are dealing with intellectual warfare, okay? And when you understand what warfare is, it's not the same as war. A group of insurgents coming out just shooting and killing when you're at war. Warfare is basically operating on, it's multi-tier, and it's operating on different levels. Okay, it's multifaceted. Okay, so it's psychological, it's spiritual, it's economic, it's academic. They hold up, they put shit in your water like Flint, Michigan. That is a form of warfare. It's chemical, it's biological. Okay, it goes on different levels. The CIA admitted to the Black Caucus, Maxine Waters, and other people in 1998, 97, that they flooded the communities, the black communities, for with crack cocaine. They admitted this, meaning they're talking to you. Margaret Sanger, she admitted, and everybody knows it, that it was a whole agenda to eliminate and depopulate black people. There's an agenda behind us. So when we see what we're dealing with, papal bull laws or papal bull laws, and canon laws, going back before that, okay? These are things that tie directly in to the social order and dynamic of the reality that we're living in and we're fighting against. Right. So when you don't understand that we're dealing with warfare is different from just some shooting in the streets, you will be confused and you will lose in every attempt that you do to try to integrate.
One of the main battlegrounds where most of the heads are being taken, right? Because they're beating us on different battlegrounds, but one of the main battlegrounds is in a courtroom. So I'm glad that you brought up the papal bull and canon law, because that reminds me of the barrister, that reminds me of lawyers. You had a lawyer that sat on Sonetta's couch the other day, and she never spoke legalese. She said that the status correction was false, but she never told the family about what status really is. She never explained civiliter mortuus. She never explained what the fuck a ward of the state is. She never explained that we are minors. She didn't give you the definitions. You gotta remember, family, legalese and English, the shit looks the same, but it's not the same language. So we getting washed up in the legal sector. We getting washed up in the courtrooms and whatnot. People, I don't give a fuck how much money you got. I don't care how gangster you be. I don't care. Niggas is walking out of them courtrooms with luck when they beat their case, unless they innocent, or they paid a Jewish lawyer, right? Most of the time, because you know the conversation, get you a Jew to get you out of jail. So you gave over half of your life earnings. They will size up your bank account, your gross domestic worth, and then they're based upon how much you got to pay them. So they make sure when you finish paying them off, your ass is broke, or you gave a big chunk of your money to them. So I find it convenient that nobody gives you the information about legalese. They don't tell you about status. They don't tell you about you're civilly dead in the eyes of the law once you identify yourself as black under a status. We're talking about color in terms of status. We got a more on the deck. Yo, I'm talking. I was telling the brother about status, how they identify people by status through color, not color like this is black, not we're black race. I'm talking about there's a status in America, and they utilize colorable law and colors to identify you. So according to the law, civiliter mortuus, CIVILETERMORTUUS. We are identified as dead in the eyes of the law. I just want to ask you, the way that they're treating us, the way that they treated Tamir Rice, the way that they treated Trayvon, the way that they treated Eric Gardner, from a European perspective, the way that they're treating us. If I'm not dealing with a person, if I don't have to give you justice, if I don't have to answer any of your claims, you're dead in the eyes of the law. You don't exist in the eyes of the law. You will get shot on film in your face, right? I'd be red-handed, I'm guilty, and nothing will happen because in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of the legal system of America, where that bitch got a blindfold on, you are dead in her fucking eyes. You could sell crack and get 80 years as a 20-year-old. Okay? One of our brothers who are part of this whole pantheon has, I'm not even gonna talk about it, but they got us dead in the eyes of the, I'm talking about that kind of dead, that dead.
Okay, dead. Now, that's a good point that the brother brought up, as he always so eloquently does. But my question would be to you then, is what we're dealing with and the opposition that's against us, is it going back to white genetic survival or just goddamn paperwork? Reason why I say that is because if we did call ourselves by these legal terms, which they made American social order to take away those terms, I just don't give a damn what we call ourselves, because they have went and destroyed countries that have a flag, that have an identity, that have sovereignty. Hold on, let me finish. Hold on, let me finish. So if they have done these things, and we know that white genetic survival is really at the root of what the byproduct socially of what's called racism that we're dealing with as an American or global social order is, do we deal with paperwork? Like we got our paperwork right, will the white man give up his concept of manifest destiny, and he has entitlement as greedy, as murderous, as evil, as he has portrayed himself to the world, whether people have been sovereign, not sovereign, we can just get paperwork under him, the paperwork that he writes up, and he's going to give us that freedom. Is that what we're dealing with? Or we're dealing with white genetic survival, and therefore, because of that, we are enemies internally? Is that what we're dealing with, or is it just paperwork?
Salute and rest in peace forever to the Oracle, the Queen Mother, Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. I encourage everybody to go get the color keys, the keys of color, and also read the ISIS paper. She will break down eloquently that this is a genetic war, that this has something to do with genetic inferiority. Yes, Dr. Frances Cress Wilson with the ISIS paper, she laid it out. So the whole thing is about the genetic annihilation of our people. It started, right? It not necessarily started, but this system that we're under started with the Inquisition, right? Went into the Crusades, went into slavery, went into this system, this chattel slavery in America, went into the system, this whole system of this European is set up. So yes, at the root of it all, it is about the genetic annihilation of a superior people or a dominant gene versus a recessive gene. But I want to ask you this. Yo, Saville, come here real quick. Because I brought up the fact that they're taking our people's heads in a court of law. I brought up the fact that because we're talking about a system. I'm speaking about a system in a non-emotional way. We're just identifying in the system, you got to play the system. We're part of a system, right? Facts?
Facts.
In this system, you got to be able to play the system. You got to know the rules of the system in order to be a part of the system. In this matrix, facts?
Facts.
You are familiar with the court system and the jail system and the prison complex industry. Is that a fact?
That's a fact.
Are you familiar with that? Have you ever been jammed up before? Is that a fact?
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, yes, I am as well. This is all I'm saying. Can I get a fact check? When you get caught up in the system, playing the game, what is it that is it not paperwork to get your ass out of the system before the time that they tell you that your ass can get out?
Correct.
Is it any other shit? Like, is it a voodoo spell? Is it a prayer to Amun Ra? Is it not? Hold on.
Amendment.
I know, but the 13th Amendment makes you a legal slave. All I'm saying is, it's paperwork, it's habeas corpus, it's writs, it's the shit, it's the discovery, it's all of the stuff that you gotta do with your lawyer that will get you out of the motherfucking throes of a dungeon in a purgatory place called the penal colonies, the prison complex industry. Facts?
Actual facts. And in fact, it gets deeper than that, because everything you said is true. When you're talking about individuals getting caught up in the legal system, and we're talking about paperwork for a collective people that have to identify with a collective beginning and a collective language and culture in order to go to these same people that disenfranchised them, robbed them, denationalized them, took away their sovereignty. We're going to them to seek sovereignty. My question is, on an individual level, okay, yes, you have to go there, and we get fucked up and played. I've seen all kind of shit upstate. I've been upstate in prison, unfortunately, more than once. You know what I'm saying? It's fucked up the way they do brothers, you know what I'm saying? But you know what that goes back to? The black Christian codes, it goes back to the Freeman Borough, it goes back to things that they made as American social orders when slavery, okay, the federal government or United States or whatever outlawed that to put us back into that same condition by criminalizing. Did you know back in the time it went from like slavery as far as you know what I'm saying, a private sector to a government sector? And the reason why they made that happen is the amendments that they put there. Meaning if you was black, you was criminalized. This had a lot to do with after the Emancipation Proclamation, they criminalized. The movie Birth of a Nation came out when niggas was criminalized, made to look demonic. Big Lips, the black-faced minstrel shows came out, because film came out around that same time. If you hung on a corner and a group of black people, 4 of y'all together, you could be locked up. If you didn't have nowhere to go and you was broke, you get locked up for vagrancy. All kind of laws was made to put you back in that same condition of servitude that they conveniently put in their law to make you not have justice, equality here under the laws of the land. And we're still dealing with that right now, in the form of where crack cocaine came, the way they're doing hip-hop, the secret meeting that happened, where they was trying to criminalize us. So they're doing it on strategic ways, where even if we did wake up, the white man being a devil that he is, J. Edgar Hoover, we forgetting about COINTELPRO? Where people, they wasn't dealing with paperwork, but they was dealing with things that politically was educating our people and unifying and fighting for causes that was gonna make things work in our favor. And it was considered the #1 security threat in America, the Black Panther Party, other militant groups. That wasn't just dealing with that, where J. Edgar Hoover said that these people, okay, would have to be ostracized, they would have to be destroyed before they raise up and nationalize different black groups to make them come into power. So laws have been changed. The right to carry arms have been changed because of things that we have done right here in America to try to secure. Hold up, what about in 1921, Black Wall Street? What about that? Where the first terror attack happened in this country on black people. They didn't call themselves sovereign, but they was very self-sufficient, independent, and building something that right now, if they would have been able to build upon, we would have been on a different position. The white man destroyed that. So when we talk about paperwork, and we're dealing with a people that don't give a damn about paperwork, they broke peace treaties with Native Americans, okay? The Friendship and Treaty Act, they broke that. We know about that because the Moors bring that up a lot. These people are incapable to deal with in harmony. Yes, to some extent, you have to deal with paperwork. But where do you draw the line? Do we say that that's what we're dealing with? Or do we talk about the enemy on other levels and say you exhaust paperwork? Where it could be used? Where do we fucking draw the line? Because if not, then we're politically buck dancing and spit shoe shining the cracker. If we're giving him the leverage right now, you think if Trayvon Martin had a fez on his head, motherfucker, that cracker wouldn't have followed him and shot him?
Hold on. Because
you have to look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah,
it's not just paperwork.
I don't want the family to be confused, like your brother saying that the paperwork is the end-all be-all.
We need it.
All I did was make a demonstration about when we are in certain situations, when we can't utilize anything else but what we got in front of us. Some of us don't have the money to pay $10,000 and 20 to 30 to get a lawyer. But even when we do, we still have to respect what paperwork does in those situations. When they're taking our property, we got to utilize. We could go to the court and be like, you can't take my shit. I got bread. I got money. But there's just an aspect of paperwork that's involved in it. When we go to war, we still going to be dealing with paperwork. Don't you realize that? You ever studied war times? When we go to war, when the war is finished, when the war starts, there's still an aspect of paperwork. There's still an aspect of laws that are followed. There's still an aspect of treaties that are followed. Even when you win the war, there's still going to be an allocation of when you win, what land goes to who gets what, who gets anything. By no means whatsoever. I never want anybody to be confused. Do I say that this motherfucking cracker, this devil, this beast, this inferior motherfucker will obey and he will honor what it is that you bring in paperwork? But it's like playing chess. You gotta use something.
You got to.
So even when you get violated and molested by them, there's still a certain way that you could be. It's a fucking receipt. You know what I mean? If you buy something, you need a receipt to protect you later on to prove that you bought it. So what paperwork does in certain aspects, like when we're born, there's a birth record or a birth certificate, paperwork to solidify the fact that nigga, you was born at this time in this place. This is your parents. This is your tree. When you do your family tree, is that not paperwork? Huh? You know what I'm saying? When you purchase something like a car or a house or a piece of property or whatever, if we were to say, yo, the European is not an American, he's a fucking pilgrim, all of the stuff that he took from the land of the Americas is ours, I'm going to take my DNA test and prove it. What do you think we'll be able to put? Because he's not going to let it go. Even with guns, he's going to fight, but the paperwork will be the initiative to start it. Because remember, physical war is what? The last result in all conflicts. You hit him with the intellectual war, you hit him with the paperwork, you do other things, you know what I mean? And then you go into war. They're at war with us right now, right? There's a physical war, there's a war on our people, biological, mental, but in order to charge them, what is it going to be? It's going to be done on venues like this. The word, the sword, the word, but the pen is also mightier than the sword. It's going to be done on paper as well. In order to indict them, in order to convict them around the world, we're going to have to do that. So I'm not saying one over the other. I'm saying a holistic approach to a motherfucker that's at war with us on all different facets in all ways. He's a trickster. He is a fucking wicked ass trickster. So I'm in agreement with you, Sankofa. You my brother. We on the front lines together. We gonna ride together. If we have a discrepancy about how we gonna do it together, we're gonna sit down and strategize. We're not gonna do it on film more than likely. We're gonna do it off film. But this is my brother in arms. Saville is my brother in arms all day. So all we just trying to do is trying to clear up confusion that a lot of our people may have out there and whatnot. So, you know what I mean? We don't ever want to say if a person is wearing a fez, they're bulletproof. If a nigga wearing a kufi, he bulletproof. They at war with everything. I think that they'll be quicker to shoot a man with a fez on than a person who they don't, because remember, we're talking about Christendom. We're talking about the same Christians who put you in slave. They put you in chains. They took your fez off and cut your dick off. They castrated us. They were at war with Muslims and Islam. They're still at war, coincidentally, right now with the same people. So I'm not saying that protects us. They at war with those people. And hold on. And in private, they wear the fez. In private, they dress up like they're from Kemet. In private, they spit the knowledge that our people are spitting in the open. That's called secret society, so they emulate us. So we're dealing with what? Genetic annihilation. Like Francis Cress Wilson said, they're jealous of us. They're envious of us to a place of psychosis. So they drape themselves in our clothing. They put lion heads on the wall, camel heads on the wall. All of these indigenous animals from Africa, they wear lion's cloth. They put on the indigenous, they take our symbols and our sigils, they adorn themselves in that. Your child wants to be like their father. Okay, so all of that shit about who we identify with, that's gonna get us off of our tail. No, it's a fucking war. You go amongst them, You trying to be around them. You want to be down with them. They promise you that they got some money for you, that they gonna cut a check for you. You fell for that shit. Shame on fucking you. It's enough cases out there, case study for all you smart dumb niggas out there to know that that don't work. Get the fuck out of here with that. We need us. We don't need them in the room. Like Francis Cress Welsing said, if there's one of you in a room of 100 of them, you remind them that they don't have melanin. That makes them uncomfortable. If your woman is in a room with them, they have a problem. The white women in the room will be reminded of the lack of melanin. There's nothing no money could buy. There's nothing that they could do to get that melanin, to get that crispy, chocolate, shiny complexion. All right? And Francis Cress Welsing broke down that it's dealing with the fucking sex. It's all about sex with them. You are sexually threatened. They are sexually threatened, genetically threatened by a heterosexual black man amongst them, because you can wipe them out. You can literally wipe them out through sex. So if you're a black man, heavily melanated, around Europeans, beware of them motherfuckers, because they sizing you up. They want to have sex with you, both of them, the man and the woman. They want your woman, okay? And they are not in love with you, all right? You are a glitterati Negro to them, a magical Negro. You're a fucking token. Facts.
And I want to make a quick statement, man, to the youth out there when it comes to the penal system. I want you to understand something. If y'all in the streets and you're selling drugs and you're doing things that these white people can come lock you up with, understand the code, the protocol of a hustler. Always have bail money, because sooner or later they're gonna come get you. See, it doesn't make any sense to take chances in the street because these crackers not giving you no job, but still in all, you know what I'm saying, you're on the street trying to survive and make some money. You understand what I'm saying to you? And it might be destructive, but what you have to understand is that there's a protocol. Have some money to get out of jail, because you're going sooner or later. You have to understand how the system is set up. It's set up for you to fail. It's not set up for you to succeed. This society is dealing with a mindset of control. We have what we call self-hatred. That means that we hate ourselves because this is what we were taught. We were taught against the light-skinned man, against the dark-skinned man. We were taught against the woman, against the man. We were taught all these different aspects of a survival mechanism, but it has been self-destructive for the black man and the black woman in America, because without unity, we cannot go anywhere. And at the end of the day, you got to do some research, you got to study. And stop looking at all these TV shows, you know what I'm saying, and it doesn't give you any concrete information to allow you to have the information to get around a lot of the bullshit or stumbling blocks that they have out here for you to fall into. We have to understand, man, that this is a system that is set up for the failure of black man and black woman and black child. The system is set up for us not to be successful. See, we have to understand this. We have to teach our kids how to be bosses, how to be owners, not someone who wants to work for someone. We got to teach them how to be an entrepreneur, to own their own business. I own my own business. I control my own fate. I don't wait for the cracker. You feel what I'm saying? I have my own products that I sell on the streets to make money. And it feels good that I can go to work when I want to. If I don't feel like going to work, I ain't got to go to work because I'm my own boss. See what I'm saying? This is what you're trying to do. Even if you go to college, your main goal is to control your own destiny, not where a person can fire you and hire you. You know what I'm saying? You want to do the firing and hiring. See, they don't teach you in college how to control your own business. They don't teach you that. They teach you how to work for them and make them rich. That's what they teach you. But we have to understand one thing. If we don't unify on all basis, in our communities, there's no black people that own their own business. You got the Arab, You understand what I'm saying? You got the Korean, you got the Chinese, you got the Japanese. You got all these foreign entities that come into our community and get rich off of us. We need to go to school and know how to do nails. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to get our nails done. We need to go to school and know how to do nails. We need to learn how to go to school and do hair properly. You know what I'm saying? And do anything that them people in our community are doing, making money. We need to learn how to utilize that information for ourselves. So should nobody be in our community making money off of us? Nobody. We should be the ones making progress and doing things in our community that's making us feel better about ourselves. Don't you know what it feels like if your son or daughter looking at you and you're a store owner or you own some property that you're making money over? Look at the example that you are showing your children. When you have the ability to control your own destiny, when you have the power to be able to let them see you making progress in life. So they have the example. I want to be like my mother. I want to be like my father. Because my father, if he has his own destiny in his own hand. Not a white man having your destiny in his hand. But you have your own destiny in your hand. And this is what it's about. We have to take our power back. We have to understand that we were misled. You know what I'm saying? We have to understand that we are deaf, dumb, blind, and hypnotized by some dilution, some trick knowledge that we were taught on how to deny ourselves. We got to wake up and smell the coffee. We have to wake up and become strong black people, and we have to understand, man, that we can make it if we unify. You understand? The Mexican is a black man. The Dominican is a black man. The Panamanian is a black man. You know what I'm saying? All these different Spanish countries that look like me and you, the Cuban, that's black, that looks like me and you, we have to understand that we are all one. There's no difference between you because you talk Spanish and he talk French. Those were the invaders that came into those continents and took over. So the people, the inhabitants of that particular island was there, and when the slave masters or the people who intervened in that country took over, and the people that lived there was adaptive to that language, be it French, Spanish, Greek, whatever it was. But they're still African, and we still got to look at each other as one. Not separate entities, because until we come together and realize that we in the same shit, that everything that's going on with us, we are all going to suffer until we look at each other as one, like Marcus Garvey said. If we're not unified, then we're going to be separate, and we're going to go down unless we understand the characteristics and the power of us being black people. Peace and black power. Hey, brother.
I wanted to say this. A few things like, you know what I'm saying? We're having the topic over Moors. I'm going to be real. We calling ourselves Moors or black, but there are things more important Moors. What I'm saying that if Moor is the standard and the status of what is we ought to be and what should liberate us, we need to see a template of how that is being used to change the conditions of us right here in real time. Because we have real situations we're dealing with. Where is your military mechanism? Where is your economic platform? Where is anything that you're building as far as institutions? Where is the Moorish hospitals for us? Where is anything? Where's the Moorish school system? Right here in America, since we're the original Americans and y'all are Moors and paperwork this and paperwork that. What makes you different than a black man struggling, calling himself a black man and saying black power? Besides a fez and a doctrine. Nothing. I'm going to answer it for you. That's why I deal with black nationalism. And when I say that, that is not talking about a slogan. That is talking about a recommendation to empower yourselves. It deals with economics. It deals with status and all that. We're never going to all call ourselves the same thing. If we're waiting for that to happen, we're going to die in vain under this oppression here in America. Because the odds have been stacked against you. The paperwork that you're trying to use to liberate yourself from the motherfucker that took liberation from you and gave you the paperwork that you're trying to use to liberate yourself from. Not to say it doesn't work on certain levels, but we're talking about on a level of nationhood, on a collective level. Show us where that's gonna work. Show us on a small template what y'all have that is working, that everybody else has been missing, because the Black Panthers, and calling themselves black, have accomplished and done more than the Moors, and that's why they was considered more of a threat by J. Edgar Hoover, FBI, and the CIA. Not to glorify that, like we should all want to be sought out by the FBI. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is this: they're not going to come at you unless you're a real threat. You're just another religious group. And when you're a religious group waiting for a phenomenon to liberate you, or waiting for paperwork that he's giving you to give you what you consider sovereignty, you'll be all right to an extent. They still fuck with your ruffle your feathers. But what was it about people that really stood up? What was it about people even back in Africa in the 1960s and 50s? The Mau Mau, the Kikuyu tribe. You know what I'm saying? Patrice Lumumba in the Congo. Kwame Nkrumah. You know what I'm saying? And what was it about them when they were fighting? They was considered enemies. They was considered a threat. Because they was more of a threat to the establishment. You know why? Because they didn't care about what your identity was. They was trying to unify on collective goal objective and what we had in common. When you come together with your spending power, with our intellectual capacities, because many of us have a lot to bring to the table, when we bring our labor and pool our resources on a collective level, you're more of a threat than saying, I'm this in this corner. I don't go to them rallies or support people in the community who are a bigger community than people who call themselves Moors, even though Moor means black. I don't go support that because black mean dead. So I'm not gonna support the cause or try to contribute to the healing for the suffering of our people here in the ghettos of the hells of North America, because they're dealing with a dead name. To hell with a name. What about the agenda? What about the opposition? What about what we're fighting against? Where was your military? And military don't mean wearing some high-tech boots or the fez. When I say military, not to say that none of y'all have it, but on a collective level, what are you guys bringing as a template besides a damn argument and trying to Arabize us unto some paradigm of Islam? What are you bringing as a template to show us how it should be done? Besides saying, well, this person called us a Moor, and that person said we were Moor, and look at this picture right here. You're no different than a goddamn Christian, the Hebrew Israelite, or other religious zealots, because you're not dealing with real issues in real time. I don't never hear y'all going on the cracker or what's going on with us right now and what we're facing. You know what I'm saying? None of y'all. Not to say there's none out there. I just ain't goddamn heard none. And I still love you, brothers. Don't get it twisted. And I'm open for dialogue. And I may be wrong on some things, but this is the perception I get from every dialogue I usually have with the brothers. I'm talking to a goddamn glorified Christian, I feel like. And this is no disrespect to you, brothers, but we at fucking war. It ain't goddamn, nigga. And when you at war, there's an art to war. And when you're at war, you think you're all gonna walk around talking about paperwork with a fez on your head? That has to be used, but all kind of attempts have to be utilized. You have to exhaust all kind of different approaches. Some things you don't talk about with the paperwork. Who gave you the paperwork? Who came up with that paperwork? You or the white man? And if he switched the paperwork up, then what do? What is your plan of action? A lot of you don't identify with Africa like that. You know what I'm saying? Because when I ask you more, you say about the law, it starts with Islam. We predate that. We predate the term Moor. We predate a lot of the concepts that you have. So when I say show me an origin of us as a reference that leads to you and you can't do it, then that's where my discrepancy comes from. Unless there's something I'm missing and I'm open for conversation, but don't show me what somebody else called you, because the same way they called us Negro, Black, Coon, Jigaboo, somebody else gave us them terms. That's not who we are. You say black, you don't like that term. Well, you say Moreno in Spanish, they're talking about black. It's denotative. It's not talking about a language, a land, a culture, a heritage. There's no flag. There's no one nothing under the term more that collectively ties us all into it. And if there is, show us what the hell we've been missing. All these times you have been talking. You know what I'm saying? Nationalism is what our destiny ought to be for self-preservation. Black power or die.